People called me simple. I never minded much. Simple meant I showed up. Simple meant I paid attention. Simple meant I remembered where the load-bearing bolt on line 3 had a hairline fracture that the inspection crew missed twice before I circled it in yellow chalk and left a note on the foreman's desk in the fall of 2015. Nobody thanked me for that one. The line ran another 6 years without a shutdown. My name is Ray Cobb. I worked the floor at Callaway and Industrial for 11 years. Maintenance and general support, which meant I did whatever needed doing that nobody else had written into their job description. My wife, Donna, passed when our son Luke was 3. After that, it was just the two of us in a pale yellow house on Sutter Road, and I learned to pack a lunch was the way she used to, and I kept going. I was not fast. I was not loud, but I was there every morning, truck in the lot. The trouble started when Dennis Pruitt came in as the new plant foreman 18 months ago. He had a business degree and a clipboard and a way of looking at a man that measured him against a spreadsheet. He reorganized the shift rotations, brought in a digital maintenance log, and decided within his first week that I was, his word, redundant. He never fired me outright. That would have required paperwork. Instead, he reassigned me to supply inventory in the back room, a job designed to be invisible, and started referring to me in floor meetings as Ray, the simple one, when he thought I wasn't within earshot. I was always within earshot. I have good ears. I kept working. I restocked correctly. I noticed that the new digital log had a calibration error on the hydraulic press cycle. It was reading maintenance intervals, 14% short, which meant the presses were being serviced too frequently, and the seals on line 2 were being stressed unnecessarily. I wrote it up. Pruitt looked at the note, looked at me, and said, "Ray, leave the analysis to people who understand the systems." I nodded and went back to the supply room. 3 weeks later, seals on line 2 blew out the same morning. Took the line down for 9 days. Nobody connected it to the calibration note. I did not say so. What I did quietly every week for 11 years was this. I kept a paper log of my own. Not because anyone asked. Because Donna always said a thing worth doing is worth writing down. I recorded every repair, every anomaly I flagged, every training conversation I had with a new hire who didn't know the difference between a tension fault and a torque fault. I trained 41 people at Callaway. Not officially. Just on the floor, walking beside them, pointing things out. Most of them went on to run shifts of their own. None of them put my name anywhere when they did. I did not mind. The work was the work. The morning I left, Pruitt announced in the floor meeting that he was cutting the supply room position to reduce overhead. Ray's role, he said, is essentially ceremonial at this point. He smiled at someone across the room. I waited for the meeting to end. I walked to the supply room, packed my thermos, and the small photograph of Luke I kept on the shelf, and I drove home. I did not slam a door. I did not leave a note with anything unkind in it. I just left. Luke was at school. I sat on the front porch with a cup of coffee and watched the elm tree in the yard, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. That was a Thursday. By the following Monday, line 4 was down. By Wednesday, it was line 4 and line 1. I heard this from Earl Briggs, been a welder at Callaway for 20 years, and called me that evening from the parking lot. Voice low, like he was reporting from a front. "Ray, they can't find anything. The new log says everything's in spec, but things are breaking." I told Earl I was sorry to hear it, and I meant that sincerely, and I wished him a good night. On Friday of that week, I was on the porch again, watching Luke kick a soccer ball against the side of the garage, when a silver car I didn't recognize turned onto Sutter Road and parked in front of my house. Carol Hargrove stepped out. I had seen her twice in 11 years, once at the plant's 25th anniversary breakfast, once in the parking lot when she came to review the Line 3 expansion. She was the CEO of Callaway Industrial. She did not know my name when she walked up the porch steps. She had a folder under her arm and the look of a woman who had spent a sleepless week, learning something she wished she'd known years ago. "Mr. Cobb," she said, "I got your name from the maintenance archives. Sit down if you'd like," I said. She sat. She opened the folder. It was printouts of my paper logs, 11 years of them, ones I'd kept in a binder in the supply room that apparently nobody had noticed until the week everything started failing, and someone went looking for any record that predated the digital system. Our compliance team has been doing an emergency audit, she said. Since your departure, we've had 7 line failures. 3 of them match anomalies you flagged in writing. Some as far back as 4 years ago. The hydraulic press calibration, the tension variance on the line 1 conveyor, the coolant flow restriction on the secondary mill. She paused. None of them were acted on. No, I said they weren't. She was quiet a moment. Across the yard, Luke trapped the soccer ball under his foot and looked over at the stranger on our porch. That's my son, I said. Luke, he's 10. She looked at him and then back at me. Mr. Cobb, I owe you a direct apology. Not for what Dennis Pruitt said. I've addressed that separately. But for 11 years of not knowing what you were doing for this company. That is my failure, not yours. I took a sip of my coffee. I appreciate you driving out here to say that. I'd like to ask you to come back, she said, with a proper title, a proper salary, and a seat the floor maintenance committee. Your logs are, frankly, they're the most complete operational record the plant has. I watched the elm tree for a moment. I'll come back, I said, on one condition. She nodded. There are 41 people working that floor who learned most of what they know in conversations I don't get credit for. I'd like a training program, a real one. Not a title for me, a program with its own budget. Experienced floor workers pass what they know to new hires in writing and in person. Donna, my wife, she believed a thing worth doing is worth writing down. The plant would run better if more people did. Carol Hargrove looked at me for a long moment. Then she opened the folder again and took out a pen. Tell me what it needs, she said. Luke had stopped kicking the ball. He was leaning against the garage, watching us. The way a 10-year-old watches something he can tell is important without knowing exactly why. I thought about Donna. I thought about 11 years of yellow chalk marks and paper logs and training conversations nobody wrote down. I thought about the relief I'd felt on that Thursday morning and how it hadn't been relief at leaving. It had been relief at being finally, undeniably seen. I told Carol Hargrove what the program needed. She wrote it all down. When she left, Luke came and sat on the porch step beside me. Who was that? He asked. My boss, I said. He thought about that. I thought you quit. I did, I said. She came and asked me to come back. He was quiet for a bit, the way he gets when he's deciding something. Then he said, Dad, did they figure out you were good at your job? My hand on the back of his neck, the way I used to when he was small. Eventually, I said. He nodded, satisfied, and went back to his ball. The elm tree moved in the late afternoon light, and the street was quiet, and that was enough.